Is it bad luck to see a dead body? Adelaide never used to believe in the supernatural, but now she doesn't have a choice. She and her family had just arrived at the beach for a vacation, but the moment they entered town, they saw something chilling, a body being wheeled out of a house. After that, strange things kept happening around Adelaide. While chatting with her best friend on the beach, her son wandered off alone to use the restroom. There, he saw something, or someone, deeply unsettling. By the time Adelaide realized her son was missing, more than 10 minutes had passed. She searched frantically but couldn't find him anywhere. Terror gripped her. Panic set in. Because back in 1986, something similar had happened to her. She was just a little girl back then. One day, she got lost and stumbled into a bizarre hall of mirrors. It was filled with endless reflections and strange, twisting hallways. She hummed a tune she had made up herself, trying to find her way out. But suddenly, someone hummed it back. Something warm and real stood behind her. It wasn't a mirror. It was a person. A girl who looked exactly like Adelaide. Same clothes, same hairstyle, same face. When Adelaide escaped that place, she was so terrified she couldn't speak a word. Her parents feared she had been traumatized beyond recovery. Thankfully, with time, she returned to normal. As an adult, Adelaide married Gabe. They had a son and a daughter, and life was full and happy. But that childhood nightmare never left her. The beach Gabe brought them to today was the same place where Adelaide had gotten lost all those years ago. But she didn't tell anyone. She thought if she just stayed cautious, everything would be fine. She was wrong. The moment they arrived, her son vanished. Adelaide lost all interest in relaxing by the beach. She and Gabe quickly gathered their kids and returned to their vacation home. That night, Adelaide couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was about to happen. She went into her son's room and asked what had happened that afternoon. Had he gotten lost, or had someone taken him? But her son said nothing. Instead, he silently pointed to a drawing on the table. He had drawn what he saw, a strange man with outstretched arms, blood dripping from his hands. Adelaide was horrified. It brought back memories of her own childhood encounter. She couldn't hold it in anymore. She told Gabe everything. As a child, she had seen a girl who looked exactly like her. Now her son had seen a strange man by the beach. Was it just a coincidence? Or was something far more sinister being set into motion? Suddenly, their son said there was a family standing outside in the driveway. Adelaide and Gabe rushed to the window. What they saw wasn't just odd, it was downright terrifying. Adelaide didn't dare open the door. She told her daughter to grab a phone and call the police immediately. But Gabe, trying to act brave, stepped outside, telling himself he was the man of the house. He came back in less than a minute. Whatever that family was, they weren't normal. He quickly shut the door behind him and asked how long until the police arrived. About 10 minutes, they were told. They'd have to hold out until then, but whoever was outside had no intention of waiting. They moved in quickly and split up to attack from different angles. Adelaide gathered the children and huddled close to Gabe. Everything went quiet until a woman's voice started humming a familiar tune. It was the same melody Adelaide had made up as a child. How could the woman outside know it? And then Adelaide remembered they had left a spare key hidden outside. If the intruders found it, the whole family was done for. A tall man appeared at the door, not alone. He was followed by several figures dressed in red. Adelaide couldn't tell if they were men or women, but one thing was clear. They weren't here for a friendly visit. They broke into the house. And the strangest part? Each one of them looked exactly like someone in Adelaide's family. Was this just coincidence, or part of a twisted plan, or was it something beyond human understanding? The woman in red, who looked just like Adelaide, began to speak. Instead of attacking, she told them a story. She said that shadows look exactly like their originals, but live completely different lives. While the real people ate whatever they wanted, the shadows had to survive by eating raw rabbits. Not spicy, not seasoned, just bloody, hairy rabbits. The woman in red looked just like Adelaide, because she was her shadow. She said Adelaide had married Gabe, so she had to find a shadow version of Gabe to marry too, and she had to give birth to 2 children who looked just like Adelaide's kids. The woman came from a strange underground organization created by the people who lived above. They had experimented with cloning human genes, and the result was people like the woman in red. These shadow-like copies had to mimic every step their originals took. But one day, they awakened. They developed thoughts of their own and decided to rise up, overthrow their originals, and live in the light of day. The dead body Adelaide saw earlier, killed by one of these clones, and the strange man her son saw, he was a killer clone too. Now, the copies of Adelaide's family had come for them. The woman in red threatened Adelaide using her family's lives. She handcuffed her. Adelaide obeyed, but that didn't stop them. Her husband Gabe was dragged away by his clone. Then the woman called in her daughter, her clone daughter. She ordered her to eliminate Adelaide's daughter, so her own daughter could be the only one. These clones didn't just want to kill, they wanted to enjoy it. The clone daughter didn't rush to catch Adelaide's daughter. She played with her, like a cat toying with a mouse. She let her run, stumble, gasp for air, only to start the hunt again once her prey was weak. What's scarier than being hunted? Not knowing where the hunter is. Adelaide's daughter crouched down, trying to see if the clone was beneath her, but there was nothing. The sound came from above. Just when it seemed hopeless, a stranger appeared, the owner of a nearby car. The clone turned to deal with him, and Adelaide's daughter seized the chance to run. Unfortunately, not even 10 seconds passed before Adelaide's daughter heard a man's scream from behind. It seemed the clone had already taken care of him. At the same time, the woman in red was watching Adelaide with cold, predatory eyes. Her clone son had already gone looking for Adelaide's son. The woman in red wanted to wait until Adelaide's husband and children were all dead. Only then would she make her move. She hated Adelaide deeply. Since Adelaide's son liked to play with fire, so did the clone son. But while Adelaide's child was fine, the clone's face had been burned beyond recognition. From that day on, the boy had to wear a mask. Tonight, the clone planned to burn Adelaide's son alive, but the boy outsmarted her. He saw through her plan and locked the clone inside a room. The woman in red heard the commotion and rushed to check, but Adelaide seized the chance to escape. She found her son and daughter and went in search of Gabe, who had been dragged away by his clone. Luckily, Gabe had managed to fight off his attacker. He picked up Adelaide and the kids, and they escaped by boat, hoping to find shelter at Adelaide's best friend's house for the night. What they didn't know was that her best friend's family had already been targeted. Their clones had come and killed them all. By the time Adelaide and her family arrived, the house was occupied only by the clones. Adelaide didn't notice anything strange, and because of that, she was caught off guard, captured right on the spot. The kids managed to escape, barely, but Gabe, injured, wasn't so lucky. He had no choice but to distract the clone version of the husband, buying time for the kids to sneak into the house. Inside, the woman clone, who looked just like Adelaide's friend, was doing something unsettling. At 40 years old, she applied lipstick for the first time in her life. But the next second, she picked up scissors and slashed her own face open. She was a shadow, a clone. Because her original loved cosmetic surgery, she had no choice but to undergo the same procedures. But tonight, she had finally killed her original. Now, she and her clone family could claim their freedom. She could do whatever she wanted with this face, and she wanted to help her best friend by getting rid of annoying Adelaide. Even when Adelaide's daughter tried to sneak up and attack, the clone woman spotted her through the reflection in the window and struck back. Adelaide was the original of her best friend. The clone woman wanted to help, but didn't expect Adelaide still had a son, who struck from behind. She died. So did her clone children. Even her clone husband was defeated by Gabe. Afterward, they tried to call the police, but the line was still dead. They turned on the TV, and what they saw shocked them. Across the entire city, clones were attacking and killing. These shadow people had been created by human experimentation. Forced to live underground for their entire lives, once they developed consciousness, their only goal was to kill their originals and take over their lives above. If Adelaide's family didn't eliminate their own clones, they would be hunted forever. On the road, the clone daughter blocked their path. Adelaide's daughter didn't hesitate. She stepped on the gas, ready to run her over, but with a loud thud, the clone vanished from sight. She was crawling across the car window in the dark. Adelaide's daughter panicked and floored the gas pedal. Then she slammed the brakes, sending the clone flying off the roof. Adelaide got out to check. Seeing that there was no way the clone could survive, she finally breathed a sigh of relief and returned to the car. Gabe had already taken down the clone husband. Now, only the clone son and the woman in red remained. As they entered the city, Adelaide spotted the clone son. She grabbed a weapon and went after him, but her son suddenly realized something felt off. It wasn't that the clone was rushing to his death, it felt like a trap. He shouted for everyone to get out of the car. Only then did Adelaide notice the ground was soaked in gasoline, and it was trailing straight to the car. The clone had planned to burn them alive. But he forgot one thing: clones are merely shadows of their originals. And anything the original does, the shadow is compelled to mimic. So Adelaide's son stretched out his arms and stepped backward. The clone mirrored him, but while the boy had solid ground behind him, the clone had only fire. As Adelaide was distracted, the woman in red appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. She grabbed Adelaide's son and vanished into the dark. Adelaide had no choice but to follow. She returned to the place where she had first met the woman in red, the secret underground lair of the clones. Years ago, humans conducted cloning experiments here. But when they realized clones couldn't develop true souls, that their souls were bound to their originals, they abandoned the project and the facility. The woman in red hated Adelaide, not just because Adelaide was her original, but because Adelaide had ruined her life. The truth was, the woman in red was the real girl from above. Adelaide had been the clone all along. Years ago, the real girl had accidentally wandered into the underground, and Adelaide, the clone, had attacked her, crushed her throat, swapped clothes with her, and took her place. From that day on, the real girl was chained underground, while the clone stepped into the light. She didn't speak for a long time, afraid her voice might give her away. The real girl lived in pain and silence for years until she finally convinced the other clones to rise up and take revenge. But this battle was harder than expected. Adelaide, just like when she was a child, was still a fierce fighter. After a brutal struggle, she managed to shackle the woman in red once again and strangled her to death beside the bed. Adelaide thought no one had seen what happened, but her son had somehow found his way down there. He had heard everything. He looked at her in silence. Adelaide stared back with a harsh, almost threatening glare. The boy said nothing, until Adelaide gave a strange, chilling smile. Only then did he slowly pull his mask back over his face.